Hey, it's nice to see myself again on the show, and you're watching Who the Heck Are We? Again, we are part of the Globally Ballin Network, so please find us on YouTube and click that subscribe button, like our videos, and also share it to your friends as well. Once again, Who the Heck Are We is part of the Globally Ballin Network, which produces the Globally Ballin podcast, hosted by Aaron Aronson, so you can find all the news around the world, service level, deep analysis. Aaron Aronson got you there. That is the Globally Ballin podcast. Also part of the Globally Ballin podcast is 5 Minutes with. Yes, you can find that show in the Globally Ballin Network. There you go. That's 5 Minutes with. Also part of the Globally Ballin Network is Hang Time with Denise Densai. The Premier Volleyball League, the professional league is ongoing. You can hear a lot of volleyball stories from your favorite volleyball players on Hang Time with Denise Densai. And we also got an eternity of basketball. Kung trip nyo naman ang mga nakaraan ng Philippine basketball, Charlie Cunas, Noel Zarate, and Silventura got you on an eternity of basketball. Please do check out all our social media networks and accounts. You'll see it a little bit later on the show. But for this episode, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Chops to Go, New Era Cap PH, Hinuluban Farms, Josie's Delight, Arfatelli Ice Cream, and Cuts Apparel. If you have some apparel needs, uniform needs, or you want to get your own corporate uniforms, your team uniforms, sports uniforms, or your own biking apparel, better contact Cuts Apparel PH. Thank you very much for our uniforms that we are wearing right here since episode number 45, I'm not mistaken, Claro. Thank you so much. Ang ganda ng uniform natin, ah. Again, Cuts Apparel, please do follow them on Instagram. Guys, it's so nice to be back here. My apologies for missing 2 episodes with Coach Kat and Coach April, of course, those young ballers. Guys, sports is back, di ba, Claro?
Yes, sir.
Oh gosh,
I'm
yeah.
enjoying myself. Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're enjoying because you're back in you're not in the bubble, but you're in the PBA, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a busy world. It's a wild world. Pero since sports is back, I mean, we gotta include all the sports na involved dito sa Pilipinas. Kaya masaya yung guest natin ngayon. We could say, guys, he's a pioneer in Philippine mixed martial arts combat, di ba? Magiging masaya itong usapan natin kasi it's all about combat today. So,
Mm.
if we're talking about combat, I mean, we gotta get the best right here. He've experienced everything when it comes to combat sports. Sabi mo ba yan? Maybe mapa-competitor man, mapa-coach man, mapa-referee man, mapa-judge man. I mean, he's done it all right here. So, on your screens right now, ayan siya. He's a black belter and a certified mixed martial artist. So, Clara and Claudia, let's bring in Coach Franco Rulloda.
Woohoo!
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Nice.
Hey,
Thank you for having me
Franco!
over. It's so nice
Takot
to
ako
see
sa
everyone.
credentials. Tap out
Sabi
na
mo,
ako.
I missed everyone on this screen right now. It's like I'm so happy to see you guys. So happy to see
I
you
know.
guys. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me over.
Thank
Of
you.
Yeah,
course.
just
Our
just to
pleasure.
let you know, guys, si Coach Franco at si Claudia naging magkaklase sa workshop ni Noel Zarate, and
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
yes, and I mean, Franco, sa social media lang tayo nag-uusap, pero ngayon magkakakwentuhan tayo dito, kaya I'd like to know right now what's keeping you busy these days.
It's of course I have my job, and then on the side is always I'm always doing passion projects, but mostly it's centered on promoting combat sports, promoting
Mhm.
the combat sports community, making sure that especially I get to promote local fighters. One of the things that I really wanted to do with my own shows is to get the community together and make sure that we uplift. It's not just promoting the community anymore. It's everyone knows what's happening. It's more of uplifting the community and at the same time educating people on what's happening. I'm really happy with the trajectory of the level of audience's understanding when it comes to combat sports. Hindi na siya yung dati it's just two people fighting inside the ring or inside the cage or on the mats. Wala ano na. People have a better understanding of what's going on. So now it's people like me and my colleagues that help them understand. The discussions are a lot deeper. So yun, those are the things that's just keeping me busy. I mean, when the pandemic happened, it just allowed me more time to like practice, get to know people and then reconnect with tawag ito? Reconnect with old networks like all of a sudden people had time para magkwentuhan, di ba? People
Oo.
had time to talk to each other and relive certain glory days, and then yun na.
Mm-mm.
When things started opening up, uh it's so happy to see that sports is coming back. But more importantly, on me personally, I love the fact that combat sports thrived throughout this entire ordeal. As in, one of the very
Mm.
first few events na bumalik kagad was combat sports.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main reason why,
Mhm.
one of the main reasons why the podcasts that I do or the coverages that I do, lumaki siya or nag-grow siya kaagad. Di man lumaki, nag-grow exponentially. Is simply because, yun nga combat sports made it happen. It was the first to come back. So it started yan. Mixed martial arts and then boxing. So, and then there were so many avenues already. Diba? There were so many means of distributing content. So yun, people had access to it. People were able to watch it. So ngayon,
Oo.
sakto lang din. Sakto na me and then my co-host dun sa podcast namin, we were able to provide them with the breakdown. Ano ba nangyayari? Di ba? Ano ba talaga nangyayari dito? What do fighters think about when it comes to situations like this? So, nakakatuwa rin yung response. I like the way how people responded. Na hindi na lang siya yung when they see a clinch situation, a wrestling situation or a grappling situation, hindi na siya yakapan na lang. As in, magugulat ako, I'll see it in the comment section na parang, okay, parang alam namin yan parang then they would actually research it. So I mean, it's been good. It's been good. So I hope the momentum, and I hope that more events happen. I really hope that we get to open up, of course with observing health protocols, pero at least yan, we get to open up more.
That is true. Tsaka ang mga tao ngayon, I mean, during lockdown, sabik sila sa sports. Wala silang mapanood. So, people would be really interested to watch your coverages and then have that time to research about all the things that you're saying. Pero I'm curious, Coach Franco, talagang ito yung naging first love more when you're starting in your teenage years? Talagang combat sports talaga ang
Or baka
una
may
mong...
ibang sport.
I started boxing 7 years old. So that was the very first martial arts that I learned. Pero it's kapantay niya si basketball.
Yeah.
Kasi I've been playing basketball since I was a kid as well. As in, kung san din ako makarating sa basketball. I played in village tournaments. Naging dayo kami kung san. So, I mean, with and syempre naman we're in the Philippines. Philippines is a huge basketball culture na country. So, it's impossible. Then I ventured into other sports. So, I did, volleyball, football, swimming. Pero, when parang college, halfway through college or early college, I met my current bunch of friends that got me hooked into different martial arts na talaga. So I started also doing other martial arts. I ventured into the other stuff, like I did taekwondo. I tried them all. I tried as many things as possible. Kasi I think every martial artist will say na they're a fan of Bruce Lee. So yan naman lagi nagsisimula yan So I just had this level of curiosity wherein I wanted to learn as much as I can and then see what happens. See which is effective talaga. And then, yun nga, I was very fortunate and blessed to have cross paths with really good martial artists, weapons training experts, and then I became part of Sarian. Sarian means sariling pamamaraan. It's a very old Filipino martial art. Hindi siya martial art pala It's a combat system designed for street fighting talaga. So
Filipino street fighting.
Filipino street fighting yan. Si Sarian. And then from there, I became part of DefTAC. So DefTAC means Defense and Tactics Center. So as fate would put it, I met Alvin Aguilar, Richard Lasprilla, Sixto Carlos.
Pioneers.
And turns out these were the pioneers of Philippine martial arts talaga. And they were not just the pioneers. They were really good at it. They were excellent. So I'm just very happy and thankful na my my resources for knowledge were these people, like straight from the source, kumbaga.
Oh, Frank, so you had volleyball, you had basketball, tas you had soccer.
Mm.
Why am I the one in the window?
Nagtatanong
So
eh.
why don't you
Nagtatanong
interview me?
eh.
No, but Franco, just to get back, how your parents naman, how were they supportive in terms of your moving to combat sports? Kasi combat yun. Kasi if it's basketball, of course it's the
Yeah.
normal sport
Well,
or volleyball.
my dad was the early on in our careers. My dad was our coach. Kasi his first love talaga is boxing. That's why we got into boxing. And then it started with play fighting lang. Then eventually, ano yun typical human behavior. Makatry nga mag-tournament. Sige, sali kami. So, syempre, initially, okay lang yan. Then eventually, parang napapansin na nila, parang sunod-sunod na yan, parang dumadami na yan, Dumadami na yan, And I could only be thankful to my parents for being supportive. Syempre, it's not na they discouraged us pero it's always just reminding, especially like for example our mom only saw us fight like once or twice, then ayaw niya na kasi sabi niya it's like you're not my boys at home, so it's me and my brother who fought. So just imagine, this was like my timeline when I started working 2006, no mga 2007 up to 2013, 14.
Okay.
My calendar for that particular era was like, it's a boxing tournament, and then it's a Muay Thai tournament, and then it's a grappling tournament, then it's an MMA tournament, and then
Hindi ka nababakante.
hindi talaga. As in,
Wow.
syempre, nasa internet age na tayo ngayon. I mean, when people think na I was kidding, check all the record. I mean, check all the tournaments. Me and my
You were
brother,
there.
we were there. Yeah. So ako, I was having fun. I was having fun. It was so much fun. Going to the gym was so much fun.
Right.
Being with my teammates was so much fun. In all honesty, I never really realized that ganun na pala katagal yung lumipas. I mean, time flew so fast. Kasi I'd go to work, then I'd leave work, go to the gym, train, go home. That was the routine. That was my life. And it was fun. So I didn't mind na sobrang kakaiba pala yung ginagawa. I was surrounded by people who were also doing the same thing. So for me, it was super normal. I mean, things just started looking, I started looking things differently when Sir Kinito Henson did an article about me and my brother, because he found it really interesting that
Wow.
we were fighting in different martial arts or in different disciplines nang sabay-sabay. Parang kami yung brother tandem na parang wala pa raw siyang na encounter na ganun. Kasi nga yun nga, the years that I spent growing up was like that. So MMA, tapos we'll rest for a few days and then prepare for a Muay Thai tournament and then a Jiu-Jitsu tournament. So minsan naka-set na yan. So yung order niyan lagi. So it's always 4 to 5 Jiu-Jitsu tournaments in 1 year, and then 2 to 3 boxing, 1 to 2 na MMA, 1 to 2 na Muay Thai.
Wow.
Nakaset na
That's a
yan
great-
for a year. So it kind of gave people this false sense of ano rin na they were so surprised to find out na I had a day job. So I was like, yeah, sabi ko, tingin nyo libre to? Sabi ko, tingin nyo, paano ako magbabayad dyan? Di ba? Then so that was the hobby. I was the guy while others were doing something else. When iba, parang medyo weird yung hobby ko. Hobby ko umakyat sa ring at makipagsuntukan or I'd go to jiu-jitsu
One hell of a
tournaments.
hobby.
Diba? Yeah, it was a weird hobby.
Yes.
So
No.
and then I started winning locally Then I said, okay, why not try venturing outside of the Philippines? Then I started competing abroad. Then I started winning there as well.
Mhm.
And then afterwards, it reached the point wherein when I would ask myself, nah, what's next? Because there's always something bigger. There's always something better. There's always a higher level to this. So, of course, tournament-wise, it's there. And then I found a sense of purpose in teaching. I never in a million years thought that I would teach people how to fight. I'd teach self-defense seminars. I'd teach people how to do things properly. Kasi nga, I was a competitor eh. I was a fighter. I was a competitor. Then all of a sudden, lately ko na lang din na-realize na that's when I started appreciating the program of Alvin and Richard and Pichon na they weren't just teaching us how to fight. They were teaching us how to be coaches as well.
Yep.
So that's the curriculum of DefTAC eh. It's deeply indoctrinated within the curriculum and the system. You're not just being taught how to do jiu-jitsu or how to do any type of martial arts that's within the system. You're also being taught how to teach this information later on. As in, no choice ka. Sa si DefTAC, ano siya, it's a very fun team pero it's a dictatorship. Kaya yun nga, so everyone's gonna watch and listen to this. Lahat ng po ng kwento na narinig nyo about my team, totoo lahat yun. Totoo na lang lahat. Ay, wala na, huwag na
That's
nating
DefTAC.
i-explain. Totoo lahat
not on
yun.
air, not recorded. We should.
Lahat
No,
lahat
Franco,
yun
the reason,
totoo.
the reason why I asked about, if your parents were supportive, because there was a I think a law that was going to be passed, and we
It's a
asked this
bill.
to a previous guest before regarding martial arts. Now they were going to stop or prevent kids from doing combat sports, no? And from your kwento pa lang, it brought combat sports brought you to where you are now. Uh,
I think that law, hindi ko alam eh. Sana hindi matuloy yung law na yun. It's pretty
It's just a bill.
stupid.
It's a proposed bill.
It's a proposed
Naman-
bill,
Proposed
diba?
bill,
So
yeah.
if it's a proposed bill, they have to do 3 readings, they have to plead, they have to. So I really hope na it's just for show, pero it's a pretty stupid thing kasi when people look at combat sports, they always look at it at face value. Eh. They just see the competition, they just see the contact, they just see what's in front of them that they don't even try to understand. They don't look at what's happening behind the scenes, diba? They don't know that it gives you structure, it gives you discipline, it tells you it's a reward system. It's the best example of a reward system wherein if you work hard enough and you do what is needed, you will get the results that you want.
precisely.
Diba? These are the things that martial arts or any sport is going to teach an individual. In a world wherein people want to think freely, do the things, have choices, diba? There's still structure. You still need structure. If you want, it's very simple. You want to be good at this, you have to practice. That's
Right.
what sports will teach you.
That's right.
Now, on a macro level, whether our leaders believe it or not, sports, the entire sporting arena, lahatin na natin sila, it's modern day warfare. Okay? Diba? It's sports is where people flex whatever they want to flex in a non-military fashion. Diba? Sports is modern day warfare. If people don't believe that statement, then why do you think the USA Dream Team is so revered? Why are governments putting so much effort and money in Olympic programs? Why is the Olympics a big deal, diba?
Yeah.
Why is Russia allegedly in such bad water for doping their athletes? If sports was not a big deal, why
They
do
wouldn't
we
do that.
have
Yeah.
diba? Why do we have major sporting events?
Correct.
Diba? Like for example, let's take the exhibition games recently. Why is it such a big deal that Nigeria defeated the USA?
Yes, sir.
Diba? If it's just a sport, diba? If it's just something na wala, sports lang yan, basketball lang yan. Pero bakit big deal kay Nigeria? Bakit big deal kay Australia? Diba?
That's right.
These are the subliminal messages, these are the subliminal contexts
Right.
of sports that tells people why is it such a big deal that Manny Pacquiao is a boxer, he's an athlete. But why do we say that he's the national pride? Diba?
Yeah.
Kasi, diba, at
Sports.
the end of the day, that guy represents the Philippines. If
Correct.
he beats an American, an African, whenever
Mhm.
it gives us that sense of pride now, we can beat these guys. Diba? Especially for a country that's been colonized for more than 400 years. For us to
Yes.
beat foreigners, big deal siya.
That's right.
So, aminin man ng mga Pilipino at hindi yun, big deal yan pag may tinatalo tayo. Like ako na lang eh. If I beat a local guy, I'm like, okay, I did my part. Pero if I go to another country and I represent the Philippines and I win, 'di ba? Para sa akin, okay, 'di ba? Para sa akin flex 'yon. Sasabihin ko, kaya naming mga Pinoy 'to. Kaya namin like the very first time I competed sa Asian Open, that's the biggest jiu-jitsu tournament in all of Asia. As in, even people from the United States and Brazil go to Japan to compete. So lahat ng tao, every imagined fighter that you could think of nandun. I never thought I'd win a match because of the level ng Asian Open, pros na yung nandun. Ako, considered hobbyist lang ako. Then I won. I won a match. I was like, what the hell? So, iba yung para sa akin yun na parang, okay, kaya pala namin. Kaya pala namin.
Mhm.
Diba?
That's right.
Kaya pala namin to. Ayan, that photo naman, that was
Bang.
that's the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation Tournament. Si IBJJF, siya yung governing body ng Jiu-Jitsu sa buong mundo. So, I competed sa gi and no-gi. So, Jiu-Jitsu tournaments, for context to people, it's a 2-day tournament. So, 2 days kang lumalaban buong araw. So, sinwerte ako dyan sa tournament na yan.
It's a lot of hardware.
Gold.
That's gold in my division and the absolute division.
Right.
So, absolute division is open weight division. So,
Oh.
yan, gi and no-gi yan. So,
Nice.
sinwerte lang ako dyan. Medyo sinwerte
Di, bless-
talaga ako dyan.
No, that's all your hard work. No, but yeah. Frank, I'll ask because I think we have a friend in the Senate that will not make that bill signed. No, so
Ayan naman. Bakit?
Check nyo na lang
Yeah,
previous
bakit?
episodes.
Laglagan na ba to? Laglagan na to?
we have a friend that
Episode
will not.
42. Check episode.
Ayun.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
may alam akong kwento sa'yo. Ba't naman yun?
Shout out to our episode 52 guest. No, but
Magkapareho naman tayo ng grupo sa Arnis. Ba't naman ganyan?
he won't sign it nga siya sabi. I don't
He won't sign it.
Yeah,
Ayun.
he won't sign it.
Yeah,
Okay,
kasi we-
klaro na. Ayun, malinaw.
He won't
we
sign it.
spoke about it. We actually spoke about it, and he did have the same similarities of your answers. No? It gives you discipline, and it makes you. And I like what you said, Franco. Is it's structured, and he also mentioned the structure of martial arts. It gives you that goal. Now, okay, after this step, I go here, and that's what martial art actually does give you, no? Structure, discipline, and all that. I think Claro has a question.
Given all that, no, coach, you like the structure, but I think that's something na realize mo as you gained experience. Pero when you got into martial arts, what got it ba? Yung adrenaline rush ba of facing an opponent in a combat sport? Ano yung secret sauce
It's-
dun?
Iba yung secret sauce. Now, when
Bugs
it
Bunny.
comes to the, si secret sauce yan yung sinabi mo kanina eh. Pero let's get, ako lang this is just based on my experience. I'm a small dude. I'm a small guy. I got picked on. I got bullied. So, pero na-realize ko rin later on na parang it wasn't really the main reason why I got into martial arts. It was more of the way it felt really honest for me. I felt that I was doing something that not only I was happy doing it simply because it felt honest. It felt real. When you're training, whether I was doing boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, or jiu-jitsu, it was just a time wherein I couldn't. It allowed me that avenue to just not care about what's happening outside. Parang time freezes. It gives you that sense of freedom. Diba? It sounds cliche-ish, pero wala eh. It was an avenue for me to be honest with myself na it provided me a safe place to be vulnerable, to work on my weaknesses, and then get better in the process. That was what martial arts taught me. Na it's okay to suck at this. It gave me the permission to be not good. It gave me the confidence, and the lessons gave me the confidence to get better with time. So it also taught me to be patient. Now, yung sinasabi ni Claro, the secret sauce, that came when I started competing. Iba yung adrenaline rush when you compete. Iba. It's especially when it's a good day. Kasi there are days that when you compete, parang wala, lethargic ka, parang you're not into it, you're not in the zone. But during the days that you are on, that you are just in the flow of things, you know that nobody can beat you. There are days na ganon, and it became a chase for that high. I was, there are only a few, parang, whether other fighters admit it or not, there's that level of high na hindi mo makukuha. Yeah, people get happy, pero when you, it's not about winning, this is about being in that particular moment wherein you feel, it's not arrogance, it's confidence. You know that you're on. You know that you're in the zone. You know that whatever you're gonna do, it's going to make things happen. You're gonna make things happen. Yun yung high na yun. It became a journey of chasing that high all the time. Kaya when people ask me why I compete all the time, that they thought that I was medal chasing, I was building a portfolio, or I was like gusto kong gumawa ng credentials. Sabi ko, hell no. Sabi ko, that was never the intent. I wasn't taught that way. Hindi siya, kumbaga sinabi ni Alvin sa akin yon, yung medal na yan, cherry on top lang yan. Sabi niya, that's nothing. When you reach that high, when you know that you're gonna fuck this guy up, and you know, and you make him feel, iba yun eh, especially in combat sports, you know, iba yung feeling na, I know I can beat this guy. Pero you see it in the face of your opponent that you, whatever it is that I'm gonna do to you, you cannot do anything. Yun yung medyo priceless na moments. As in, yun yung mga, it's like when you saw Manny fighting Margarito, he knew that whatever diba? He knew that Margarito was taller, was longer, pero alam din niya na he was in such a groove na wala, kahit na anong ibato ko dito, papasok to. So, I mean, I was able to reach that level of proficiency wherein I was able to understand the message that my coaches were telling me. Kasi they were also speaking from experience. Like, for example, Richard Lasprilla, when he would always coach us and he would teach us, he goes like, I never really cared about winning. I was always chasing that high. Sa kanya ko nakuha yung line na yun. Na I was always chasing that high. So ngayon when I compete, and now that I'm coaching competitors, I say the same thing. When you get that high, and then yung mga competitors, they compete and then they win, they go like, coach, I know exactly what you're saying na. Sabi niya, gets ko na. Iba pala to. And then kasi it makes them realize na they could actually do something more with their lives. Feeling ko yun eh. People thought that, okay, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And then here comes a guy like me who introduces you to combat sports. And then, diba? So I think that's diba? Yun din yung parang naging culture nung team namin. While others, of course, I could only speak for myself and my team. Pero yun eh, where you're always chasing after that moment. You're always chasing for that particular point wherein time froze. You couldn't hear anybody. The screams were loud, but there was only total silence. Yung mga ganong klaseng moment. Yun yung secret sauce na sinasabi ni Claro. That was it.
Isang comment lang before my last question before the break. When Coach Franco said, ito yung secret sauce, the Rocky theme song started playing in my head. Inspired na ako. Tayo na
Eye of
ako.
the
I'm gonna
tiger.
work out.
I
I'm gonna work
totally
out.
feel you.
Yung ano, tun, 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 tun,
Parang
tun.
mapapump
Eye
up
of the
ka, di ba?
tiger.
Oo.
Iba pa, iba pa. But,
Mapapump up ka eh. You have that
Yep.
self motivating feeling eh, di ba? Pero Claro, go ahead.
tama. Pero coach, all that competition, ang daming disciplines, I think you settled in jiu-jitsu? Tama ba?
I settled in we call it the 4 pillars of mixed martial arts. So I concentrate now on boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. So those are the 4 disciplines. Kasi those are the 4 ingredients to get successful at mixed martial arts eh. So dun din naman ako madalas nag-compete. I have plenty of competitions talaga. Pinakamarami ko talaga jiu-jitsu. Kasi ano siya eh, pwede kang mag-compete almost every week eh. Kasi hindi ka naman sinusuntok dun. Pero you could still go 100%. You can go 100%, pero it's still relatively safe compared to getting hit in the face and ano. So, ano siya? So that's a huge bulk of my competitive years. And then the others, yan. Marami boxing, Muay Thai. Yan. After jiu-jitsu, it's boxing and Muay Thai.
Ay, one clarification lang before I get you, Jay. Coach, yung 4 pillars, when you teach them all together, may specific way ba? Just to make sure kasi may overload.
Ayun din.
Lahat.
So, when
Just
it comes
curious.
to teaching mixed martial arts, medyo ano ako dito. I'm one of the medyo kakaiba yung opinion. For me, martial arts, mixed MMA in general is not it's a specialized program. Hindi siya pang class. Hindi siya pang curriculum. Kasi you cannot teach a student MMA from zero. That person has to train in striking and then train in grappling and then put it all together. The coaching aspect of MMA now comes with preparing either a individual or a group of individuals when they join a tournament. That's when you start bringing all these things together kasi it has to be tailor fit to the limitations and the strengths of that particular fighter. So you have to tailor fit the system based on sa strengths niya, sa weaknesses niya, how does that fighter fight, how does that fighter perform, and who is the opponent. So ganun siya. Now, syempre, it's becoming more mainstream. So when you go to MMA programs in general talaga, yan. Ako hindi ako fan talaga eh. Sorry. Hindi ako fan eh. Kasi you're gonna train striking half the time and then you're gonna train grappling half the time. Then you're gonna be half as good as you're gonna be half as good as supposed to the person who's been proficient through the years. Medyo ganun eh. That's how I see it. Syempre, other coaches will disagree. Pero ako kasi that's how I see it. Based on how I was brought up, how I was coached, and how I train fighters. So, yun yung medyo approach ko kay MMA.
It's about maximizing your opportunity, ano? Ganun yung magiging focus mo. But anyways, itutuloy natin yung kwento sa coaching since we're there. But before we continue the story, we just have to do some contractual obligations with our network because we have to tell you guys that Who the Heck Are We is again part of the Globally Ballin Network. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Better check all those shows out, or rather those links of the Globally Ballin Network. Again, Who the Heck Are We? You can find us on YouTube and on Anchor, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget, part of the Globally Ballin Network is the Globally Ballin Podcast, hosted by Aaron Aronson. News about sports all over the world, also covering the Philippine Basketball Association as well. Better do check it out. Aaron got you covered right there on the Globally Ballin Podcast. We have next is 5 Minutes With. Yes, it is part of the Globally Ballin Network. Please do check them out. Also part of the Globally Ballin Network is Hang Time with Denise Densai. She's very busy with the volleyball season ongoing right now. So you better hear a lot of stories from the volleyball athletes as well, especially what they're gonna tell when they start telling those stories inside the bubble there in Loag. It's gonna be interesting there over at Hang Time with Denise Densai. Of course, Magpapatuloy rin an eternity of basketball with Noel Zarate, Charlie Cuna, Zid Ventura, and Jay Mercado. Philippine basketball's greatest years. Diyan nyo maririnig yung mga storya nila sa an eternity of basketball. Now, back with us here with Coach Franco Rulloda. By the way, this episode is brought to you by Chops to Go, New Era Cap Philippines, Sinuluban Farms, Georgie's Delight, Arpatelli Ice Cream, and Cuts Apparel. If you want to get your apparels, your company uniforms, your business uniforms, sporting uniforms, and your bicycle outfits, better check Cuts Apparel at Cuts Apparel PH. Thank you for our uniforms as well. Yung pa muntik kong makalimutan, yung mga sumusuporta sa atin. Pasensya na. Pasensya na.
Lagot tayo.
Oh, lagot tayo. Back after 2 weeks. At saka, isa pa, maganda yung kwento dito ni Coach Franco. Since we're already in the business of coaching, I want to ask Coach Franco because make no mistake about it, we are hearing a lot of competitors in general. Hindi lang mga mixed martial arts, mga mixed martial artists, athletes in general that medyo ilag sa teaching because their perspective, their conception about that is, ba't ko ituturo sa iba to? Eh baka mamaya, makalaban ko to, malaman niya yung diskarte ko, kalunin ako nito. Diba? That's a common that's a common perspective on some athletes. Kaya ilang magturo. Pero on your part or on your team in DefTAC, sabi mo nga kanina sa DefTAC, talagang pag binigay sa inyo information, talagang there's really no way but to pass it on. Diba?
Yeah.
Personally, was it easy for you na, sige, kung ano yung tinuro sa akin dito, tuturo ko rin sa'yo? I mean, you didn't have that conception na parang kung pag tinuro mo sa kanya to, sige, tuturo. Teka, di ko tuturo lahat to kasi baka maglaban tayo eh.
May scouting report na kay Coach.
Actually, ito yun when it comes to the dynamics of my team, we're a very inclusive team eh. So, kung DefTAC ka. That's it. You're only going to train within the entire system of DefTAC. Now, to answer the question, was it easy to teach people what I know and what I do? Yeah, 100%. Without batting an eyelash. Why? Because that's how I was taught. I was taught that way by my coaches. And one thing that I really appreciate about how Alvin indoctrinated and brainwashed us all was it made us coaches have this mentality na, even ako, I post it online in my social media pages. Sinasabi ko, my goal is to make my students better than me. If this is a very sad trivia, there are 108 million Filipinos in this country. So probably more pa. There are only less than 50 black belts in jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
Ganun kalungkot yung number na yun. Now, if I want to grow that community, okay, if I want to be part of the growth of that community, I cannot achieve that by withholding technique, by withholding information. It's not gonna happen. Another role or this is like an indirect responsibility of coaches. You have to uplift, you have to improve, you have to increase the level of the next generation. At the end of the day, if you walk into a room, ako personally lang, I don't want to walk into a room wherein ako lang yung black belt. Gusto ko, when I walk into the room, I see 50 black belts. Kasi mas masaya yung training pag ganun. It's that simple. That's the culture that I grew up in. That's the fight gym that I grew up in. Because if you want to, for example, I'm going to take myself as an example. I want to get better at whatever it is that I'm doing. I cannot do that if I am the best guy in the gym. That's not going to happen. Never going to happen. But if I do my best to train my training partners to increase their level, every time I go to the gym, nag-i-improve sila, so mas gumagaling sila, mas pahihirapan nila ako ngayon. Kung mas nahihirapan ako, mas mataas yung chances na gagaling ako. This is exactly what I've been. That's one of the reasons why I also became a little bit more active on social media, especially when it comes to coaching. Kasi I know exactly what Sergey was saying. That's the more, believe it or not, medyo ganun pa rin yung practice ngayon. A lot of coaches natatakot matalo ng estudyante nila kasi feeling nila ego trip na lang to eh. Ano na lang to eh. Basag ego na lang yun eh. If you they think na there's a cloak of invincibility sa kanila na they cannot be beat inside the gym kasi pag natalo sila mababawasan ng respeto sa kanila yung mga estudyante nila. If you create that culture in your gym, then that's a bad gym to be at. Pangit yun. Kasi ako, tatanong no, ako, hindi porket black belt ako, hindi na ako mahuhuli ng mga estudyante ko. Mahuhuli ako. And when that happens, I'm actually happy. Kasi ibig sabihin, what I teach them works. And it's also a good way for you to manage your ego. It's how I manage my ego. Na you're not the best. Diba? You're good at this, but you're not the best. The mere fact na nahuli ka, it simply means that you missed a few steps. There are holes to be plugged. So it forces me to relearn concepts. It forces me to polish the skill sets that I already have. Yun. So, yun yung dahilan din why I always encourage people who want to be coaches na never ever think that you're the best guy in the gym. Your job is to make that student better than you. Diba? So whether you accept it or not, ako, yun yung pinaka-prevailing concept ko when it comes to teaching.
Yeah.
My job is to make you better than me. Yun. As in, yun yung pinaka-staple. Palagi.
Oo. Ganyan naman talaga ang teaching. Pero, mapunta tayo doon sa mga tinuturuan nyo, sa mga students. Have you had any trouble kung halimbawa, you find a student, you know you're giving your best, but sabihin natin that a certain student masabi natin kulang sa spirit, unmotivated ka, or parang masasabi mo na hanggang doon lang talaga siya. Yung that student already reached its peak. How do you face those kind of, we can say, adversities? Para masabi mo na, kaya pa to eh. Kaya mo pa eh.
I first have to acknowledge the fact na I know gets ko yan eh yung ganyan kasi I came from a competitive background and then I shifted to teaching. One thing that I really had to accept later on, like progressive siya, I had to learn it through the years na I cannot expect everyone to get better at the rate that I want them to. Second is people go to the gym for various reasons. Diba? You cannot force your beliefs on these people. A lot of people go to the gym now because they just want to have fun, they want to stay fit, they want to lose weight, they want a hobby, they want to learn how to defend themselves, they want to, diba? So, different people, different personalities, different expectations. So when I started acknowledging and understanding the fact that people go to the gym for various reasons, it made teaching actually a lot easier for me. Kasi now, I know which individuals want to be pushed a little bit more, which individuals are steady lang. Yung wala eh. Masaya sila. They don't have competitive aspirations, pero masaya sila to go to the gym, masaya sila to be with the people, masaya sila that they're exercising, they're exercising, they're losing weight, they feel good about themselves. What I see during class na developments nila, kasi yun din yung sinabi mo na they've reached their peak pero wala niyan sa classroom structure eh. I cannot have that mindset in a classroom structure kasi, for example, this is a perfect example for that. There are students that go to the gym because they want to increase their self-confidence. So iba yung approach ko sa estudyante na yon dun sa gustong mag-compete sa upcoming tournament. So if I see na that person pag nag-i-improve yung self-confidence niya, he's able to speak a full sentence to another individual, then para sa akin yun yung win niya. Diba? Yun yung niya. The best example for me was I had a teammate. for some weird reason, I don't like calling people students. I call them my teammates. I had a teammate. He was very mediocre in the gym. Sin, go through the motions. Okay, lempot, ganyan. So ako, I always push him. I always push him. I always push him. And then one day, he just opened up. Sabi niya, Coach, alam mo ba, sobrang saya ko na ginagawa ko to. Sabi ko, dude, naman. Sabi niya, ganyan lang talaga. Dapat lang talaga, first rule, di ba? Sabi ko ba sa'yo, first rule sa gym is to have fun, di ba? Oo nga, coach eh. Buti na lang talaga nung nag-enroll ako, ikaw yung nagtuturo. Kasi, magpapakamatay na talaga ako nung gabing yun eh. Sabi ko, so kinuha ko yung tsinelas ko, pinalo ko siya sa ulo. Sabi ko, mga ganyang kwento. Sabi ko, heavy naman yan. Pero ginawa ko sa joke, pero nakita ko kasi seryoso siya eh. So I was like, tangan nito. Pero yun eh. So I was like, okay. So yun din, nakita ko lang din kasi that during training, he wasn't really talking to people. He wasn't. Then the goal for me was to like have him speak 2 to 3 sentences to another guy and interact with the class. Then I started doing that. Then later on, I go like, okay, so madaldal na siya. Okay, pabayaan ko na yan. Okay na ako dyan. Di ba? Then, yeah, may mga I mean, those are, when I hear people, so yun, face-to-face yun. Then there are people who would message me na yun nga, bigla nag-open up. Up until now, I don't know how to, I don't know how to deal with that. Aminado ako. I'd always I'd always make a joke out of it. Pero I always tell them na I appreciate this. Sabi ko, I appreciate that you appreciate what I'm doing. Pero yun nga, so just keep showing up. Ganyan. Kasi when, to be honest, I'm a douchebag in the gym talaga. As in, it's not a democracy. It's a dictatorship. It's if you, as in ako, sabi ko, if you don't like what I'm doing, there's the door, get out.
You sound exactly like almost the same. Martial arts really has the same path. Same aspect in the training.
Yeah, si Reese, si Reese yung fiancé ko, I was like, when she saw me like do a class, he goes like, you're a mean person in the gym. Sabi ko, it works all the time, eh.
Dude, it's your personality, man.
Sabi ko,
X number of years.
Sabi ko, di ba?
Wala, in martial arts, you have to be
Sabi ko. I think it's not about being tough eh. Dati ganyan eh. Kasi yan yung correct. But now it's more of, the gym is a common ground for everyone. It doesn't matter. That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu as well. You wear the uniform, you wear the gi, the kimono. So you don't carry manager, you don't carry business owner, you don't carry CEO, you don't carry COO, you don't carry actor, you don't carry vlogger, you don't carry influencer, you don't carry tycoon. You carry your name.
Yeah.
That's what you bring here.
Your honor.
You bring yourself. You don't bring a title. You bring your humanity here. And if I am all I go inisip, I have to be the medium that will make this bunch have a common ground. So how do I do that? I make them all suffer. So if I make them all suffer, meron silang common bond ngayon na nagsama-sama silang naghirap for that particular time. Na
That's right.
I gave them an opportunity to not think about work, not think about the traffic, not think about, diba? Not think about the problems that they have to face when they step out of the gym. Because in those 2 hours with me, they were all just one unit suffering together. Yeah. There's something about that people have to. There's a beauty in that. That's why I encourage people, especially kids, to play team sports, play individual sports. Doesn't have to be martial arts, doesn't have to be fighting, doesn't have to be in my team. I always tell them, make them experience that because it's a very beautiful thing to have. When you experience that moment, Dala-dala mo yung kwento na yan habang buhay. Na every time, even if you stop, pag nakita mo yung taong yun, naalala ko during that time, mainit sa gym, pinag 500 push-ups kami ni Alvin, wala kaming magawa. Yun yung bond nyo ngayon. Di ba? So I want people to experience that, because when people experience that, then they'll have lesser reasons to be mad. They have lesser reasons to be angry, to be sad. Di ba? It's kasi meron kang outlet. Feeling ko naman yun lang yun eh. Na there are a lot of people who are angry, that are depressed, that are ano, kasi walang outlet. Pero if they do, then it makes life easier for them. So ako, yun lang yung lagi ko iniisip. Okay? I just have to create that moment for these people. And yun nga, so if you don't like it, exit. Labas kayo dyan.
The door is right there.
Wala na yung takot ko while listening to that.
Kasi kung hindi, upakan kita, di ba? Kung hindi kita upakan, papaupakan kita doon sa gatekeeper namin sa gym. Yeah, Mortal Kombat ka ngayon.
No, Frank, you said something, a very interesting stat. No, you said that there's 108 million Filipinos, but less than 50%, 50 tama?
50
na black
Less
belt
than
and
50 or less than 40 black belts in jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Why is that? Why do you think?
Because it's hard, and people don't like hard. People, especially now, we live in a world where everything is instant, diba? Yeah, instant. We always live for instant gratification. We always look for, diba? Tapos you go through. One of the reasons why I don't blame society for that eh. Iniisip ko lang din kasi jiu-jitsu talaga is, number one, it's hard. Number two, it exposes you to yourself. Not everyone is willing to do that. You have to, jiu-jitsu will teach you na you don't know this yet. You might have watched it, you might have seen your friend do this, but pag ikaw na yung gumagawa, I am going to make you realize that you don't know shit. Ganon sa jiu-jitsu. It makes you, it exposes you to yourself. It makes you vulnerable to yourself. Now, that is what we call the crossroads. What you decide next will shape your entire future. Are you going to continue with your journey and say, this is something that's going to benefit me, not just as a athlete, as a fighter, but it will also benefit me as a human being. And then on the flip side, quitting is the easiest way to escape these things. Quitting is the most ano ba tawag ko doon? Quitting is the most viable excuse. It's the easiest way out, diba?
Easiest way out.
Diba? It's the easiest way out. Naupakan ka, na hurt yung ego mo. So, ang fork nun, do I learn this because it's so good? Diba? Parang, naupakan ako ng ganong kadali. Ibig sabihin, I have to learn this. Or, uwi ka, then, natsyempohan lang ako doon. Ano lang, sinwerte lang yun. Yoko na yan. And it happens. I've seen so many people do that. Kaya pag minsan, napo-profile na namin pag yung mga nakapanood lang to ng mga gagawin namin, yung girls team, labanan nyo nga itong mga to. Tapos makikita mo, magugulat sila na makikita mo sa mukha nila na parang, okay, this girl is beating my ass literally. Since I can't get out, this girl is choking me out. 90% of the time, that guy doesn't return. Hindi na namin siya
come back
ever. The 10%, when I ask them, and they say, paano ng babae yun eh. Ibig sabihin, magaling to. Ibig sabihin, effective to. Ganyan. So,
nice.
yun yung ano namin lagi. Parang nagiging filter na rin. Kaya rin, that's also the good thing about jiu-jitsu. Training will filter people out. If you're a very egoistic person, if you're a pride-driven individual, you can't, you're not gonna go far with this. Kasi you're gonna offer a lot of excuses.
Right.
So, yun din yun. Another one would be, it's going to amplify whatever is your current emotional, mental state. So, kung mahina yung loob mo, so ipapakita niya sa'yo na mahina yung loob mo, and then, through your coaches and your teammates, papakita namin sa'yo na when you get better at this, you will improve. Diba? You will get tougher, you will get better. So again, babalik din tayo dun kay step 1. People will go home, they'll say, yes, I want to do this. Or, di, ayaw na. Nakakapagod eh. Ang nakakatawa na turnout dyan, yung mga magte-training 2-3 beses, tapos akala mo kung sino ng experts. Makikita namin parang, mga 3 training session lang yun. Kung magsalita sa Facebook, alam mo, expert naki-class picture lang ng 3 beses.
Madaming ganyan.
Daming ganyan.
For the gram.
Oh.
Pero, Franco, how does the mental aspect naman of the fighter or what you said teammate come into play?
It training martial arts or any sport, syempre I would always bring in the other sports na natutunan ko rin is it's going to actually it's gonna make it mentally tough kasi it presents you adversity. It shows you adversity. This is adversity. This is challenge. Diba? Now, make a decision. Yun na yun. Simple as that. No ifs, no buts. You can't talk your way out of this. It's either you go through it, you beat it, or you go home and you complain. Yun siya. It's there's no way around it, diba? In a world wherein ang daming katwiran ng mga tao na ang dami, diba? Ganun yung nangyayari sa society natin ngayon eh. We live in a society wherein you blabber your way out of things.
Right.
But if you step inside the ring or you step inside the cage or you go up against another opponent, pag natalo ka, wala kang pwedeng i-excuse doon. Hindi yan kasalanan ng timer, hindi yan kasalanan ng referee, hindi yan kasalanan ng suot mong damit, kasalanan mo yun. Diba?
Yeah.
It makes you accountable. It teaches you accountability. It teaches you to be responsible for your faith. For your fate. Yun na yun. So it also develops your mindset. It also develops your attitude. I think a lot of the main reason why fighters and martial artists and elite level athletes are mentally tough or they have strong mental toughness is because the hardship of training just molded them into thinking na I don't have a choice. I have to do this. I have to win. I have to beat this. Ganon. When you start thinking na, and then it also gives them the courage na, hey, I'm getting better at this. I can actually do this. I can actually win. When you start believing in yourself, now nobody's gonna break you. Nobody can break you. Ganon siya.
Beautiful. You mentioned refereeing. I think Jay has something about refereeing.
Maganda to because we've heard Franco's story about being a competitor. We're all amazed with your story on teaching and coaching. I'm actually pretty interested for this episode because I wanna hear something about refereeing. Pag ikaw na yung umaawat. For sure you were one you napunta ka na sa isang corner ng isang teammate pupunta sa fighting and for sure you would always want your corner to win. What if ikaw na yung nasa gitna, pumapagitna, ikaw na yung referee or ikaw na yung judge? Mas mahirap ba? Mas gusto mo bang ikaw na lang yung coach o yung competitor o gusto mo pa yung referee ka?
Actually, I'd rather be ano ba to? Referee, coach, fighter, tama ba? Yung may choices?
Like
so, yung ganon. Dali lang yan. I'd be the fighter.
Okay.
Kasi at least talaga. Kasi nandun na yun eh. I'm the guy who all I have to do now, okay, my job is to beat the guy opposite on the opposite side of the cage or the opposite side of the ring. That's my job.
Yeah.
Kung ikaw yung coach, isipin mo kagad, how do I deal with that? What are the ano bang habits ng kalaban na to? How do I deal with the emotional state of my fighter now? What are my strategies for the next round? May yellow ba kami? May stool ba? I mean, there's so many things that the coach has to do for fight day. Next one, refereeing. Refereeing is one of the thankless jobs out there in the world. As in, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Every time that I referee a fight, I have to be on. As in, hindi ka pwedeng pumetics, hindi ka pwedeng diba? And then you have to make the right call at the right time. You have to, people have to understand your call will determine the path of the career of this fighter. So you can't mess this up. You can't make a bad call. You will, but you minimize it. You do your best not to fuck it up. And then, ano talaga is, you also have to be present and know when to stop. You also have to be present na, okay, I have to be knowledgeable enough na kaya pa ng fighter na to. Diba? You have to, and that comes with practice, that comes with doing homework. For people who are watching and listening to this, it's all of, at least me, Joey Lepite, Flores Eusebio, we just don't go to an event and referee the fights. No, we ask for the fight card. We ask for the matchups, and then we watch tape of these fighters so that we know their tendencies, we know their attitude, we know how they move inside the cage so that we can move with them. Laging ganon. I'm very proud of the referees here in the Philippines kasi may ganun. Most referees are former fighters or coaches, so alam nila where to be present inside the cage or inside the ring when it comes to actual fights. And for example, hindi rin nasa-spare si UFC dito. There are so many fights in the UFC wherein sobrang layo ng referee. Diba?
Mm-hmm.
There are so many instances na may na-TKO, makikita mo yung referee tumatakbo. Diba? They had to jump in or dive in. Dito sa Pilipinas, we've devised a system wherein we can be as close to the action, but at the same time, we're not interfering with the action. So, yun si refereeing. And ako rin, again, I'm so fortunate that I was surrounded by really good referees who answered my questions, who answered and mentored me through the entire process. As in, they made me comfortable. They made me more confident with my calls. Tsaka, early on pa lang, sinabi na nila, you will make bad calls. Just stick with it. Just live with it and then don't do it again. Ganun siya. When it's a continuous process pa rin hanggang ngayon. Pero definitely within those three choices, wala. Doon ako sa fighter, pinakamadaling trabaho. Pinakamadaling trabaho yan.
Yun nga Kasi for sure, pag referee ka rin, gumagawa ka rin ng scouting report. I mean, you mentioned, you see the true. Fight card, you're evaluating the tendencies of the fighters, yung mga ginagawa nila sa laban, and you have to be aware of that. Pero Claro, I mean, you, among the three of us, you are the one who have experienced refereeing, and for sure you have those very unpleasant experiences as well.
Ibang sport. Pero yes, refereeing is a thankless job. Like we said it so many times here.
Sabi ko nga, when I referee MMA, parang yung mga tao sasabihin nila, galing, sarap pwesto mo dyan. Sabi ko, refereeing is the best and the worst seat inside any combat sporting arena.
Or any sport for that matter.
No, it's the best and the worst seat. Sabi ko, so... Diba? To like, sige, quote example. The fight between Kaloy Baduria and it became so viral. It became the viral video ni Kaloy Baduria. Against Mark Palomar. Initially, and naalala ko pa noon, parang I heard the comment, yung commentator's table ba yun? Or para, basta napupuruhan si Kaloy. Pero I know Kaloy Baduria. I know how he fights. I know his attitude and demeanor inside the cage. And I've seen him. I know when he is out. I know if he can still fight. So during that fight, Palomar was just really bombing his face. Pero nakikita ko kasi yung demeanor niya, he can still fight. So I let the fight continue. So turns out, totoo pala, may energy pa si Kaloy. Pinapagod niya lang pala si Palomar. Nung pagod na si Palomar, bumawi siya. It was a huge, crazy fight. It became so viral. Diba? And then, biglang everyone just asked me, bakit hindi mo pinigil? Sabi ko kasi, wala I did my homework. I watched these two people fight. I know what are their nuances, what are their ano bang habits nila inside the cage. So if I just came in there blind, if I saw that he was throwing shots and Kaloy was just raising his hands, a typical uneducated referee would stop that fight. Pero in my case, 'di ba? Inisip ko kagad, hindi kaya niya pa to. So I made that call. Parang judgment call ko 'yon, and that So I had to make a judgment call in a 15-second window to let the fight continue. So 2-4 kagad yun. If I continue the fight, it could be this sensational bout between two fighters. If I stop the fight, diba? Who knows, diba? Who
Sikat
knows?
kang ref.
I would have robbed the audience and the fighters a moment, diba?
Yeah.
Given that, coach, no, are you still practicing everything? Refereeing, commentator, tas coaching.
Yeah.
So everything in the circuit.
Yeah. Oh.
How parang you sat everywhere eh. Did that change your perspective? Like habang referee ka, my certain
I think
realizations.
my martial
Tapos
arts
coach.
training
Yeah.
complemented everything that I'm doing. My martial arts training definitely the main reason why I did the NBA with sila Claudia, sila Sergey, everyone in the shout out to Newbies Broadcasting Academy.
Yeah. Represent.
The main reason why was actually ito yun story time. Trip ko lang talaga yun. So sabi ko kasi ito yun every time I watch a boxing fight, it's like I know what's happening. I can explain it to the next person beside me. So nagtataka ako, bakit hindi makita nung commentators yon, nung analysts yon, no ano. So I was like, what the fuck's wrong with these people? It's this ganyan. And then it made me realize that people who are telling the story kasi are either just fans or walang deep dive na nangyari. 'Di ba? Walang deep dive na nangyari. Ang sinabi lang nila lagi is, I mean, with the exception of a Dayan Castillejo, a Quinito Henson, a Sev Sarmienta, if you go to your local bar, sila sabi lang, naku, bumanat ng kaliwa, bumagsak, bumalentong, ganyan. Pero ako, I could say, that guy stepped towards the right, led with a hook, and then transitioned into an uppercut to the body that opened the straight. That led to the knockout. I could tell I could say that narrative. Ngayon, sumasablay lang ako sa timing, sa ano. And then that opportunity came. So I go like, okay, it also opened my eyes na we don't have a scarcity of reporters. We just have a scarcity of people who are within the community that could tell their story. Like, yun din eh. So inisip ko na lang din, I could tell fighter stories. I could explain a sequence. I could explain a scenario. I could explain a particular situation in layman's terms. So, edi gawin ko na lang to. If there's one thing that if I want to serve my community, if I want to improve the level of understanding for the audience, then I have to have the skills to be able to tell that story right. So, okay, naging competitor na ako. Okay, naging coach na ako. Pero parang feeling ko, at the end of the day, I was living in a bubble within my industry, within my community. I want to be able to tell the person right next door na, uy, itong nangyayari dito, maganda to Maganda to. Okay, it's a very nice sequence. Kayang-kaya ng mga Pinoy to, magagaling ang mga Pinoy dito. So yun, that led me to learning how to do broadcasting. So now, when I was broadcasting and I was I was doing play-by-play, since then I started seeing the comment section na parang, oy, ang galing mo As in, doon ko rin nakikita, nagbabanter na yung mga tao. It opened my eyes to the fact that there are people out there who can appreciate a technical analysis.
Yeah.
Kasi the way I say it is, double jab there by fighter A, then it steps to the right. Now, if I was fighter A, you should lean more towards to the right, step into the hook, and then afterwards go for a shot. When you're inside the clinch, you always go for an underhook, and then you pass on to your knee, ganyan. Akala ko kasi walang market yun eh. Then eventually, I started seeing people saying, uy, ito yung commentary na hinihintay namin. Ito yung gusto naming marinig.
There's a market for it.
There's a market for it. So I go like, okay. Then it actually gave me the confidence to keep going. And then I met Carl De Mesa, JC Reyes, and we started a collaborative podcast wherein we discussed, broke down and analyzed combat sporting events, kung ano yung highlights. So we did MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling. We never thought na people would watch it. Then eventually people started watching. Then apparently there are people who are fans of martial arts that wanted to be on the show. Then I go like, okay. So yan,
Open
si
mic.
James Deacon, kasama na namin. Si Raymond Marasigan. So I go like,
Oh, it's cool.
si Tito Raymond nga,
Oh.
the following day lang nag-sink in sa akin eh. Sabi ko, guys, tama ba? Si Raymond Marasigan ba yung kasama natin? Tama, di ba? Raymond Marasigan, di ba? Ngayon lang nagsisink in sa akin eh. Sabi ko, that's the guy of our generation. Tama, di ba? Ginugol ko, Raymond. And he was such a huge MMA fan. He loved it. Then he said, I enjoyed the episode. Thank you for having me. I want to be on it again. We were drinking. Di ba? Doon ko nakita na there are people who appreciate what we're doing. And it all started with the fact it all started with the mission of making people understand what's happening inside the cage, inside the ring, so that the next time they see it, mas maganda na yung appreciation nila. Na hindi lang yan jab, straight hook. Na hindi lang yan na there's footwork, there's rhythm, there's a momentum shift, there's an actual setup na hindi yan basta-basta binabato ng fighter, na may purpose. Yun yung that was the and that's the reason why I keep practicing. I keep doing breakdowns. I keep doing kasi it's not just to serve the community, but it's also a way for me to get better at this. As in everything that I learned during the NBA is always at the back of my head na parang I have to do it this way. I have to do. Nung off air nga nagkukwentuhan kami. I was like, I did a live stream coverage in Pangasinan. I covered the event standing for 8 hours, and then nagka-break kami ng more than 1 hour. Then Noel Zarate, the back of my head talking, do not make a dull moment. Wag kang boring.
Why?
Dahil
Of
ka
all
lang dyan,
people.
kahit anong mangyari. Make sure that people are still, you make sure that people are engaged. So sabi ko, okay, Densu, game, lahat ng comments, shoutout sa'yo, shoutout dyan, kamusta kayo
Like
dyan?
viewership siguro.
Oo,
Dahil
so parang, tapos sabi ko, you have to, I mean, everything, if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't had that training, if I wasn't, ayan, I remember back then, si Jay, talagang, nakatanga ako doon sa camera. Sinasabi niya lang, okay lang yan, okay lang. Sabi ko, tangina nito, kalmado ako, mamatay na ako dito. Hindi pa nga naka-on yung camera. Nag-joke, nag-run through lang tayo. Pero, di ba, it was very, then the next step would be yung mga newbies next na the succeeding modules and the succeeding seminars. It really put structure. So ngayon, I could do my job better. So whether I was talking to another person in my podcast or doing coverages, it was good. And I mean the feedback is my parang that's where I gauge my performance, the feedback ng tao na okay, medyo if I'm too wordy or if I missed a particular sequence, if they have questions that I wasn't able to answer, yun yung it's so much fun. Pero definitely nagagawa ko lahat yon kasi I'm part of the community. I just hindi ko lang siya pinapanood. I actually did it. I'm actually doing it. So it made my job easier. Makes the job easier.
Coach, I forgot to ask this a while ago. Yung style mo, do you do striking or grappling when you're
both? I started with striking, then I learned grappling. Pero when I fight MMA, wala, striking muna. parang
Striking talaga.
supplementary na lang
Si
si
grappling.
grappling. Oo. Kaya nga tuwan-tuwa ako dati pagka lumalaban kami, may nakita, death tag, sasabihin ng kabilang coach, nung opposing coach, nako, death tag, grappler lang yan. Like, oh, like, yes!
Big mistake.
Yes!
Big mistake.
Kasi ngayon, magkakaroon na ng, when you say that, diba, when you have that stereotype in your head, isipin mo lang ngayon, I'm just gonna grapple with you. Then I start hitting you with punches. Then I start hitting you with kicks. Then late mo na marirealize na, teka. Coach, marunong siyang mag-striking eh. So,
Sira yung game plan nila.
diba, ganun siya.
Okay. Teka, namamagana pa ako Ano strike?
Diba? Parang, kasi may isang nakalaban ako noon. Natalo ako noon na. I lost. Pero nung nag-meet kami sa corner, sabi niya, pare, sabi nila, grappler ka rin, sakit mo sumuntok eh. Pinakita niya kasi magayan dito niya.
Nagulat pala siya.
Diba? Sabi ko, diba? That works to my advantage. So I'm very happy for that.
Mabisa talagang weapon yung element ng surprise. I mean,
definitely.
Pero, Franco, just to close this one, my final question to you. I mean, ang saya nitong kwentuhan natin eh. You've done everything in the world of mixed martial arts. Pero I just want to ask you, ano yung talagang pangarap mo for Philippine mixed martial arts? I mean, let's put it this way. Where are we now? And where do you want this thing to go for the country?
I want everything that I'm doing now, and I say this openly, everything that I'm doing now, all the efforts, all the things that I post online, this is not to benefit me. This is to benefit the future generation. Whatever it is that I'm doing now, it's for the next generation. Whatever I teach, whatever I share, if I answer whatever question, it's not to benefit me. It's to benefit the next generation of fighters. Because if I do my best to improve the level of awareness, improve the level of notoriety, improve the swag, improve the level of attention that people put into combat sports, then I'm gonna leave this world a better place. Kasi ano na yan eh, I realized then na I have to think ahead. I have to make sure na the next generation will benefit from the sponsorships, they will benefit from social media, they will benefit from more exposure. Kasi we are in a state wherein nanggaling na ako dun sa wala eh. 'Di ba? Ang hirap niya eh. So ngayon na meron na nagsisimula ng magkaroon ng there are more eyes to the sport, then there are more brands who are willing to work with fighters, willing to work with gyms, willing to work with the community. And then they also realize that this is a huge community and it's growing. Then nagkakaroon na it encourages people to actually participate. Long-term plan is I really hope, and I'm really gonna do my part in this, na magkaroon tayo ng professional fighters who make a living out of fighting. Kasi we're not yet there. The glimmer, yung bright spots lang dito is if we are able to reach the level of the UFC, if we can send fighters in the UFC, in Bellator, in 1FC, 'di ba? In PFL, 'di ba? In the big leagues kumbaga na international, then it simply means that the level that the chances and the opportunities of growth are high. It simply means na magaling ang mga Pinoy dito. I mean, that's the overall goal for me. I want people to realize, the government, businesses, I want to make them see that combat sports is something that Filipinos are good at. 'Di ba? I will not undermine, I will not diss on other sports, pero I'm going to raise the bar and I'm going to raise the flag of combat sports. 'Di ba? We got Pacquiao, we got Folayang, we got the Wushu team, we got Agatha Wong, Diba? We got
Mhm.
Denis Zamboanga, Drex Zamboanga, Fritz Biagtan. These are elite level athletes who are Pinoys and they're making their presence felt in the world stage. So if they can do it with the level of support that they're getting, could you just imagine if a lot of people band together and support fighters? Diba? So we're gonna go back to the previous discussion na sports, especially combat sports, is modern day warfare. Diba?
Mhm.
We can't bank on Pacquiao forever. What if we create 50 more Pacquiaos? The best example, Russia. Diba? They don't just rely on Khabib. They have this is a story so when I so there's a international MMA federation. So when they came here, we got certified. It's a really good program. It's a grueling program. It's headed by Russians. So when I was talking to the head, si Andrew Moshanov, I go like, I like Khabib. Again, they go like, then he laughed at me. You think Khabib is good? We're going to release 200 Khabibs or better than Khabibs in different organizations. So
Wow.
imagine everyone, 'di ba? Everyone's Pacquiao, Pacquiao, Pacquiao. 'Di ba? Pacquiao
Mhm.
cannot carry the flag all the time. There's too much responsibility for one man. Why don't we create a program wherein we'll produce 100 Pacquiaos? 'Di ba?
Yeah.
That's why
Oo.
ako I'm very like and that vision is shared by my fellow coaches. For example, Wrestling Association of the Philippines, 'di ba? Dati, they will just train, and I know this because I trained with the national team ng wrestling. I got better at wrestling because I trained with the national team ng wrestling. So, dati ang program was, wala lang, kung sino yung lalaban, yan yung ititrain natin.
Mhm.
Then, Alvin became president, he started a tier program. We have a current pool, we have a cadet pool, we have a kids pool. Nagkaroon ng ganon. Kasi nakita niya, galing sa amin, sa batch namin, when we were white belts, we were ripping through everybody at every belt level. Then he saw the potential na, okay, if I can make this bunch better, or I can make this bunch a hugely competitive medal producing group, I can do that with the younger generation. So he did that with the kids program. Then then he applied that concept sa WAP when he became president. The same way with I think ano ba bang sport yung nakikita ko dito na ganun din. Si football, 'di ba? Si football may ganyan na. Si
Mhm.
wushu may ganyan na. Si Muay Thai, Philippine Muay Thai Association of the Philippines. Kasi ano rin ako grassroots training program coach ako ni Muay Thai Association of the Philippines. So major props to Chairwoman Jelly Bulaong and then sila Coach Precious. They're training a current pool, sila Billy Alumno, pero they're also preparing a cadets team, they're also preparing a kids division para meron tayong progression, 'di ba?
Yes, yes.
Kasi it has to be that way. Actually, we're behind other buti nga ngayon ginagawa na natin siya because other countries have been doing that ever since. 'Di ba?
Mhm.
So I'm very happy with the progress that athletics is doing right now, and I really hope na it improves. It gets better through the years. How do we do that? Us in the current crop of fighters, the current crop of coaches, they just have to be selfless. We just have to be unselfish when it comes to answering questions, providing our time, providing and passing on our knowledge. Kasi if that kasi ako sinasabi ko, it doesn't have to end with me. It doesn't have to stop with me. If I pass it on to at least 20 people who are going to improve on it, then they're gonna pass it on to the next 20, then the next 20. So ganun siya. Ganun. So that's
Mm.
the
Yes.
I mean that's how I want things to happen.
Mm.
Oh, ganun talaga, no, Claudia. Grassroots. Claudia is a great promoter of this. Grassroots, everything has to start with grassroots. That is amazing.
Right.
Coach Franco, ang haba ng kwento na to. Napakasaya. Actually, nabitin
Ano na
ako.
ba? Gano'ng tagal na ba tayo?
We've been on for
An hour
like
and
84
24
minutes
minutes.
already.
Wala.
Time
Excited
passed
tayo.
by
Wala,
so
hindi
fast.
Time went
Ganun na
We
by.
ba?
gotta do this again. Mas
Napansin
maganda
ko.
tayo
Oh,
kung
yeah,
live,
yeah,
no?
yeah. Oo.
Kung live, no?
Ako,
magkakaharap tayo. We gotta do this
Oh,
again.
game. Oh,
Oo.
I love doing this with
Oo.
people that I know. So, basta ako anytime you guys wanna have me over, thank you so much. So,
Yes,
sabihan niyo
yes.
lang ako, sabihan niyo lang ako.
Messages, Coach Franco sa mga students and your show. Gotta give a shout out to
First
your
off,
podcast.
who the heck are we? Thank you for having me over. I mean, this is an amazing show. I mean, hosted by people I look up to. One of the reasons why I went into podcasting is because of these people here. So I have my podcast. It's Coach Franco Says. It's a very conversational podcast that I talk to people that I love talking to. And then I have a collaborative podcast with Destroy MNL. It's called Combat Sports Weekly. So we talk about what happened in the world of combat sports. We dissect, we analyze, and then we break down the techniques, the winning moments, and then we explain. More often than not, marami na rin siyang chismisan moments dahil na rin sa audience namin doon, sa community namin doon. Nagiging semi-tulfo na rin siya kasi yung mga nagsusumbong ng mga kalokohan doon ng coaches nila tsaka sa gym nila, nagiging bina-blind item na namin doon. So, again, thank you so much for the community behind that. And I'm just on social media. Just type my name, Facebook, Instagram, and then my YouTube channel. Please subscribe there, and then subscribe to this channel, please. Okay, you're gonna learn a lot. And I mean, thank you for having me over, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Coach Franco. I mean, this has been an amazing episode, and all I can say to you guys, our listeners, don't mess with this guy because he's gonna definitely. Yes, biro lang.
Wala. Pagka nagpapaaway ako, sabihin ko, sige.
Fight.
So, like, one thing I learned doing martial arts is like I am just too tired to get into a fight. As like, especially traffic altercations. It's me. It's like, ikaw na. Kasi sabi na, bakla ako. Okay. Pero uwi tayong buhay. Okay na ako dun.
That is true. That is true, Coach Franco. Stay with us we'll put you on the backstage for a moment. You just have to close this show, Coach Franco. Thank you very much.
In a bit, Coach.
Pero, guys, I mean, this has been amazing. This has been a great episode. I mean, all the coaching stuff. Because, personally speaking, guys, that I used to teach college kids before, and everything that Coach Franco says on all the coaching stuff, all the concepts that he provides, I mean, they all really struck a nerve. I mean, how can I say this? I cannot. It's like we're alike.
You're out of words, Jay.
Because I'm blown away. That's how it is. And one thing I can really take away of this, it's mahirap sabihin pero totoo na people don't like it hard. Diba?
Okay, so that's yeah.
Uh-uh.
Okay. Ako, these answers, I mean, like I said, we had a previous martial artist also here, no? It was episode 52. And halos almost similar yung mga sinasabi nila. No? The way that they train,
values,
diba?
Yeah,
Put them inside the room, bugpugan kayo, diba? And then they come out all bruised up, diba? And then it's hard. It was hard. Yun nga, and then the discipline that they have, the structure of the belting system of martial arts. Halos pareha. So you could actually see and hear the pathway of a martial artist. No?
Mm-hmm. For me, other than the Rocky Balboa song playing in my head a few times with the inspirational words of Coach, you can see Coach isn't just a great motivator, communicator, pero nandun na rin yung like strategies and tactics with the way he is able to break down things for us. So that's a great coach to have, and must be cool to be Coach Franco's student, right? So,
a teammate.
Go figure. Teammate to be exact.
Yeah, that's right. Teammate, not student. That's right.
Yeah.
Teammate. Yes. Jay?
It's an amazing episode, guys. And again, I thank you very much, guys, for listening and tuning into our podcast. Again, who the heck are we? You can find us on YouTube, on the Globally Ballin Network YouTube channel. You can also find us on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. Those are our social media networks. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on YouTube. And you also got to check out the other shows that are part of the Globally Ballin Network, which are, one, the Globally Ballin Podcast, hosted by Aaron Aronson, have a deep dive or a surface level view of any sporting events that's happening here and around the world. You can catch that on the Globally Ballin podcast. You also have 5 minutes with where we break down game tapes and analysis from the athletes themselves. You can hear that on 5 minutes with on the Globally Ballin Network. You also have Hang Time with Denise Densai, all about volleyball. The Pro League is ongoing. They're gonna hear a lot of stories from the athletes and their experiences inside that bubble on Hang Time with Denise Densai. And of course, if you want to take a trip down memory lane on Philippine basketball, there's an eternity of basketball with Noel Zarate, Charlie Cuna, Sid Ventura, and JP Mercado. Again, this episode is brought to you by Chops to Go, New Era Cap Philippines, Hinaluban Farms, George's Delight, Arfatali Ice Cream, and Cuts Apparel. If you want to get your own company uniforms, sports apparels, or your own biking apparels, very trendy biking apparels, you can catch them on Cuts Apparel and give them a message on Cuts Apparel PH. This is Who the Heck Are We? Thank you very much, guys, for listening, and it's nice to be back here. Woo!